This is going to be a video on getting started with Animate. We're going to be just setting up the document in this video. So we've just opened up the Animate program, and we've got many different choices. The choice that we're going to choose, because we're going to be adding some ActionScript to this, is ActionScript 3. We're not choosing ActionScript 3 class, we're choosing the standard ActionScript 3. So if I click on this, now I have a brand new stage and all the components that go along with it. The item in the middle, the white space in the middle, is called a stage. And everything we add onto that stage is all part of what is called Scene 1. Okay, so over here at the top I have Scene 1. And we can have many different scenes. We will have many different scenes depending on the different parts that we want to put into our video. So after you've created your flash, it's actually output as a video. Okay, so let's go over some of the items that we have inside of our palettes that are part of Animate. So along the bottom, in my case, since I'm on a Macintosh, and it is basically the way that it's set up here, but yours might be set up a little different. I've got the timeline, which we're going to be doing 99% of our work on the timeline. And that's at my bottom, that's the timeline. If I go over here to my upper right, I actually have something called Scene, and we try to control our different scenes. We're going to be doing all those items from up here in the Scene tab. Down below that, I have got a Properties tab and a Library tab. And the other thing that I have is I've got two additional menus of kind of quick access stuff. So this little side menu here in the middle, this is actually one of my quick reference items that allows me to jump straight to certain items. And one of the things that we want to do is, because we're doing ActionScript today, we want to make sure we add something that is going to make it easy for us to get to the ActionScript menu. And the item that we add is called Code Snippets. Anytime you want to add anything, you're going to go over to the window, scroll down, and you'll see all the different items. And if it's got a check by it, that means that it's added up and it's displaying. So I have all these items. I have properties, so let me take and show that here. So I have properties that I just added. And let me just bring that. And if it's actually on and you check on it, it turns it off. So let me see. I have that. I want to add code snippets. Code snippets are over here to my right. Okay. If I want to add these onto any one of the palettes, I literally drag it over to the area and let go, and now it's in my shortcuts to get to those items. Okay. The other tools that we want to make sure we have is this little toolbar over here. And so if I choose Tools, which is activated right now, that's why it's showing. But if you do not see that, you can click on Tools. You can turn on all the different items, but it's going to take up a lot of space on your program. So I have my code snippets up. I'm actually just going to make sure I collapse it, and now it's basically back in my little shortcuts menu. So if I'm going to be using that, I'll using any of the items in the shortcuts menu. So right now we have our stage here, and we're going to set up a couple other things with a stage. So by default, our stage looks perfectly fine. However, there are some changes that we make just to make it so that we get a smaller file size and also allow us to have a bit more flexibility. So to change the stage you have right here, we're going to go up to Modify and then Document. When I go to Modify Document, it tells me the size of the screen I'm working with. So right now we're working with 550 by 400. That is a good place to start. It actually works very well with certain videos that go on YouTube and stuff. But you can change the size anytime you want. You can't change it after you build your program. So once you build your program, you can't go, oh, wait a second, I want to change this to a larger size. Because if you do that, then many of your graphics won't rescale, won't get bigger, and they'll look tiny for the small screen even though you've enlarged it. So you want to set up your stage size before you start building anything. Okay, so I'm going to leave mine at the 550 by 400, and that'll be perfectly fine. I also got some options to scale content. If I choose this box, if I do resize, it basically is going to try to rescale all the items inside of that program. However, this is not always accurate, especially if you bring in graphics like images and stuff like that. Okay, so you can put this on there. I actually don't have this checked when we're just getting started. Okay, so I'm going to leave scale content alone. This also allows me to scale if I am going to resize this. From what corner am I resizing? So you could actually choose from the upper left-hand corner, which is our default, or you can choose one of the other spaces to change how you're going to change the size. Below that, you've got stage color. So stage color is right now is white. White works out perfectly fine. However, if you did want to do something different, you can click on the color chip and then choose from any of the different colors that are available. Okay, so if I'm choosing green, if I click OK, you'll notice that my stage becomes green. So we're actually choosing something that's going to be pretty universal. And so I'm going to leave mine white. You can change yours to any color that you like. The important part we're looking at here is actually the frame rate. So the frame rate is the number of frames per second that pass. Okay, so right now, if I did this with a 24 frame per second, that means down here in my timeline, I could watch 24 seconds go by. Okay, I'm sorry, 24 frames go by in 1 second. So the problem is you can use this, but if you have to add up multiple seconds, it starts to get complicated because the math gets kind of difficult. So we're going to change this frame rate from 24, which is almost like video format. Video format, like if you're shooting a movie, is actually 30 frames per second. So we're going to drop it down to a frame rate that still runs smoothly, but is a much smaller file size. So instead of frame rate 24, we're going to change this to 15. So it's still going to have a good enough quality for us to use for our animations. And at the same time, it'll make a smaller file size. We're going to click on OK. So at this point, our stage is set. Our frame rate is set at 15 frames per second. And all of our other palettes are active. So you are now ready to start building things inside of your Animate program. So we'll stop this here, and then I'll pick something up with the next video.